Let's pause this. I needed to really practice some self-care and some self-love for myself. Some self-care and some self-love for myself. Hi, welcome back to the channel where we talk about self-care, self-love, natural hair, skincare, books, travels, vlogs, all type of lifestyle content. Thank you so much for coming back. The series got a bit interrupted, but that is the case for self-love, you know, when you need, and self-care, when you need those moments to take care of yourself. You have to take those moments, and things were kind of hectic with work. The winter blues were like really kicking my butt. So I really just needed to take some time to pause and like just live. I enjoy making this content. So again, it doesn't feel like work, but I don't know, in those moments I felt kind of like an imposter, and I was like, I can't make content if I'm about self-care and self-love, if I'm not feeling it, if I'm not practicing it. So that is the ultimate, lesson here, is like taking those moments to do what you need to do for you, and you know, knowing when to step away. So yes, I still going through some things, taking those moments, and I'm back, and I want to wrap up the Embracing Self-Love series. Also, happy March. I'm so excited just for spring. I've never looked forward to March so much in my life. March used to be one of my least favorite months just because, I don't know, this stretch of time, like this January through March, it's just like hard because it's cold, it's dark, and there's like nothing to look forward to. So, you know, April through December, I'm like, I'm good. So if I can make it through the first 3 months of the year, I'm usually pretty good. So I'm very excited for March. Daylight savings is coming. So I'm getting in a good place. Very excited. Today's topic is starting your self-care / self-love journey and what that looks like. And I feel like it's really appropriate just because of, you know, what's been going on with me recently, and you know, kind of feeling like what is this journey supposed to look like? I feel like it ebbs and flows, and I've been at different, you know, points of the journey, it feels like several times, and sometimes I can feel like, you know, am I being stagnant? Am I going backward? So, you know, just kind of what that journey has looked like for me, how it started, and then what do I do on this journey? So how I started my self-love journey. Oddly enough, I feel like my self-love journey started when I got married. The journey kind of started, I didn't realize it was starting. And I don't know if this is like something that most people, their journeys start this way, but my self-care, self-love journey started from being isolated. So my husband and I got married in August of 2018. 2 weeks later, we moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and he started a PhD program, and I was just like, and I think it was kind of hard for me because it was a whirlwind. We had so much going on, just like planning a wedding, planning a move. It was just like, I always had something to do. It was never really a time where it's like, okay, I could just kind of sit and be in the moment. When we moved, and he was prepping for grad school. So when we moved and all that work was done, the wedding was done, the move was done, he started his program. Then it was kind of just like, you know, what do I do? I wasn't working yet. So the first month I was just like, what do I do? That was the first time in my life I had ever been alone so much. And I mean, he was there, but he was also working and really busy. So it was just like, that was the most alone time I had ever had in my life. It was a new experience for me. It was something I'd never experienced before. And I started to realize like, do I know who I am? Have I ever spent, you know, this much time alone? And I hadn't. And so at the time, I remember we would go, my husband had a late class, and I didn't like being home at night by myself because we were new to the area, and I'm like, you know, I'm just nervous. I don't want to be home by myself at night, or, you know, late. So I would go to class, or I'd go to campus with him, and I'd hang out on campus and he'd be in class. And so I remember like I would do a lot of journaling. And I remember one night in particular, I always think about this because I really feel like that's where the self-love journey started. Or I feel like I realized there I didn't have any self-love. Like journaling, and I was writing about all these things that I had blocked out of my mind, and I was like, oh my gosh, I remember when this happened and this happened, and I just like was writing this stuff down. I remember crying. And when we got home, I can still see myself in my head, like this whole scene. And I was like reading it to my husband and telling him like, these are things I haven't thought about in years. But I made myself stop thinking about these things, and I kind of pushed them to the back of my mind. And I realized like, oh my gosh, like I've been carrying some heavy stuff with me. And you know, I'm not gonna share this stuff, but like when I look at it now, it's like, this is kind of trivial. It wasn't anything like super traumatic, but it was stuff that I was holding on to, and it really bothered me at the time. And I don't know, maybe I'm just saying that now because I've healed from it. But either way, that is when I realized, you know, I actually have some work to do. I've got some, you know, I was looking for something, you know, the wedding had been planned, the move had been planned, but it was like, oh girl, you got a big project here in you. And that's that journaling and that isolation. I mean, I also have moved away, and I had some deep insecurities about moving away because the first time I moved away from home, I moved to Bowling Green, Ohio. And it was probably the worst experience of my life, besides meeting my best friend, Jeremy. Besides that, it was probably one of the most, I look back and I'm like, why did I move there? Why did I go to school there? But yeah, I ended up coming back home after a few months, and just the way people would like kind of talk about that, make fun of me for it. It was hard, and I feel like, okay, I'll never be able to move away from home or remember what I did the last time I moved. So I was deeply insecure about that. So that was playing in the back of my mind too, like, okay, you moved away. Remember what happened when you moved away. Now you're states away. Now what are you gonna do? So I had that insecurity. I was just like letting the voice of people who said negative things about me play in my head. And those were the things that I would hear every day. There's a problem, and I got a lot of self-work to do. So really that is where my self-care, self-love journey started. So that was in 2018, and here we are in 2022. And I've learned now at this point, the journey is never ending. Once you start the journey, you're on the journey for life. So yeah, that is how my journey started. Showing up. So this is an aspect of the journey that I willingly have to choose every day. It's easier on some days, but it's a lot harder on others, and those are the days when it's most important. Let's just use last week for an example. Last week, I had, like, it was a lot going on at work, a lot going on with my anxiety. I just was feeling just bad. I was feeling bad. I'm also in a phase in my life where, and this is kind of going to another point that I'll talk about, but I won't talk too much about it, but I have control of nothing but my attitude. And as I've matured and been on this journey, I've realized that control is a big issue for me. That's just because of trauma that I've been through. So I like to think about all the possibilities and, you know, think about, okay, if this happens, I'll do this. If this happens, I'll do this. I'd like to have that aspect of control. It makes me feel safe. So I'm in a situation now where that is possible, but highly unrealistic, and also kind of just a waste of time. So I'm learning that the only thing I do have control of is my attitude. And that's been hard because my attitude hasn't been the best. But the number one thing that I've really learned through this journey is showing up for yourself. So every day I kind of wake up, I have like affirmations that I read, I have scriptures that I send like certain people, we have messages that we send each other every morning, like encouraging messages. I have like meditations that I'll listen to. More recently, I've started back stretching. Stretching has been really, really, really good for me. And just like stretching and breathing. So I've been doing that more. Taking my vitamins. I like to take not only just like my multivitamin, but also just like B6, B12, magnesium, just because that's really good for anxiety and depression as well. Making sure that I choose to take those because, you know, this may sound silly, but there's some days where I'm just like, where I'm feeling so bad, I'm like, I don't even want to take my vitamins for what? And it may sound silly, but it's like, so when I do take them, I'm like, yay, congratulations me. When I don't feel like it, the days where I'm just like, I'm over it and I don't care, still deciding to show up. That has been probably the most important lesson, because you can have all the tools and you can know everything that you need to do, but if you're not utilizing the tools and you're not doing what, you know, the things that you need to do to feel better, then it's like, what is, knowing the information won't do anything for you. You've got to put what faith without works is dead. Also is the same for manifestations. You can manifest, but you also have to put work behind those manifestations. Same goes with your self-care, self-love journey. You can have all these tools and read all these books and, you know, watch all these videos, but if you're not putting that work in for yourself on your own journey and for your life, it's not going to do anything for you to have the information. It is something that I have to still consciously choose every day. So deciding to show up for yourself every day is the most important aspect of your self-care, self-love journey. So things that are part of my self-care, self-love regimen that make me happy, that give me energy: nature, being in nature, sunlight, daily walks, stretching, reading, smoothies, shopping. These are things that give me energy, that make me feel good, that make me happy. Just like honestly being like having the sunlight come in my apartment, and candles. These are just things that make me feel good. I remember once, before I even knew what depression was, I was experiencing depression. This was like in high school. And I remember I took a shower and the sun was shining on me, and I remember crying in the shower. Because I just felt so good, and I was like, I'm so happy. Even though I'm so sad, I'm so happy to be alive. And, you know, I realized I still get that feeling from the sun, like being outside and having the sunshine on me. Near water, bodies of water. I love walking around like ponds and lakes. It gives me energy being around water. I'm a very empathic person. I know it's very generic to say. I kind of even hate saying it because I feel like people say it all the time, but I'm a highly sensitive person. I'm very empathic, and I love water. Gives me energy. Being in nature gives me energy. So these are things that make me happy, so I try to incorporate them. It's really hard to do that in the winter, which makes sense why I deal with my winter blues. That's why I'm very, very much looking forward to spring, so I can get outside and kind of just get some of that energy back. But these are things that give me energy and kind of help me on my self-care, self-love journey. Another aspect of my journey has been investing in myself. So whether that be therapy's probably been the best investment, if I'm being honest. But the best investments for myself, but then also paying for convenience. So I was the type of person who I'd be like, oh my gosh, like I was a penny pincher, and I'm like, okay, well, we have to save as much money as possible. I won't buy this, like I'll buy this, like, and you end up wasting more money because you buy the cheaper thing. Now I kind of shop with convenience, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to, you know, buy quality. I'm going to buy things that save me time. Things that just like make my life easier. That's something that I do now because it's an investment in myself, and it makes my life easier. And then also treating myself, spoiling myself. So I've gotten really good at this. Now I'm just like, I always treat myself. After every paycheck, I treat myself. But that was like really big for me, because it's like I don't really make, well, I won't say I don't, because I do, but before I wasn't really, you know, treating myself and spoiling myself. So now I get massages, I get facials. I don't get my nails done. I do miss getting my nails done, but my experiences at the nail salon have not been the best, so I don't get my nails done. So I'm not saying it has to be expensive to treat yourself, but I don't let the price tag deter me, because that also sends a message to yourself like, oh, I'm not worthy of that, and I am. I started to look at, you know, the things that I buy myself as an investment, because I am my greatest investment. I want to make sure that I'm being well taken care of. So that has been another aspect of my self-care, self-love journey. Self-compassion. So the last two things we're gonna talk about, self-compassion being one of them, are things that it's really still an issue. So much so that in therapy recently, my therapist told me that we are shifting to kind of focus on self-compassion because, you know, she was like, I don't feel like you have any. She actually read me for filth the last session we had, but she's like, I don't think you have any. I've really been focusing on being gentle with myself, which is hard because I've realized I'm my biggest critic. I am the person who, or at least in my head, I've collected the terrible things that have been said to me or said about me, and also the terrible things, I guess, that no one has said, at least to my face. And that's like the messaging that sometimes my mind likes to replay for me. So I've learned, or I'm learning to, you know, shut those voices out. I read like a prompt or something that was talking about, think about the voice that you hear saying those negative things to you. And that's really helped me a lot too, because it's helped me kind of understand why I'm holding on to certain things. So I've done that, but then also just every day I tell myself like, girl, we're gonna get through the day. And that's the goal. I'm not gonna be too like hard on myself and expect, oh my gosh, for me to just like perfectly have a grateful attitude and, you know, a good mood, all of that stuff. It's hard. Like I said, I'm good at researching, I'm good at planning and having the tools, but like utilizing and being solution focused is hard for me. I'm very self-aware person and it's hard for me. So every day I kind of just like a little bit at a time. And also showing myself grace with that because I'm not perfect and it's gonna take time, but I'm aware of it and I'm willing to do the work. So being gentle with yourself, showing myself that self-compassion. I'll keep you updated on that one because it's something we're actively working on in therapy. I still have work to do. I think it can be hard to understand when you start a journey like this that it's never ending. But recently I came across this idea of, you know, am I hyper-focused on self-improvement? And that was something I thought about, is it keeping me from living? And I think it goes hand in hand with this concept of having so much information but not utilizing it. And so one of my bigger goals for this year is maybe not to focus so much on, you know, what it is that I need to work on, because I'm very, very good at pointing that out. So maybe not focusing so much on what I need to work on, but creating routines and patterns and kind of cultivating myself to be the person that all the research has helped me create. Understanding that this is not gonna be, at the end of this year, I'm not gonna look back and be like, okay, done. I have arrived. You know, it's different phases, different things will happen to me, and that'll bring out different parts of who I am, and, you know, it'll be, you know, different tests and different lessons, and, you know, that's what I've learned. I'll share this. When I initially moved, I didn't want to move. I think anybody who knows me knows that. I didn't want to move. I wasn't happy about it, and it turned out to be one of the best decisions I ever made. I don't even think, I can't imagine who I would be if I didn't move. I feel like God is putting me in a position where it's like, okay, you've learned all this stuff. Be mindful. Live your life. Be in this moment and be grateful. And I actually had a dream about my grandmother, and she told me kind of the same thing. She said, you know, you'll have everything that you want, but you have to learn to be grateful and happy with what you have. And I've realized that in every moment in my life, I was always looking forward to the next moment. So if I, you know, I'll use my marriage. So I wanted to be married. I really never thought I would be married at this age. Or, you know, when I got married, I never even thought that I'd be married so young. But I wanted to be married. Was, you know, really wanted a relationship. And I got it. And then the next thing, it's like, okay, well, like I want this. And I've started to realize that things that you pray for, that you manifest and you want so badly in your life, you get it. And most times you don't remember the time that you spent wanting it. You're like, okay, what's next? I want what's next. I want what's next. And I feel like I'm in a period now where it's like, okay, you have to learn to be mindful. You have to learn to be grateful. And it's been hard. And that's a lot of the reason I feel like I've been going through just some tough times too, just because I am kind of being forced to learn this lesson, which I'm grateful because I know that it's important and it's gonna help me throughout the rest of my life, but it's just hard. Just being willing to implement the knowledge and the changes, continue to grow and learn and, you know, adjust as the situation sees fit. That is my self-care, self-love journey in a nutshell. I just kind of wanted to share like an overview of what it looks like, how it started, and then some of the challenges that I still face, because yeah, I don't want it to seem like at all in any capacity that it's easy or that I'm just like, you know, everything is just perfect, smooth sailing, because it's hard. And I know we're all going through hard times and we all have hard times and no one's life is perfect, but I think some transparency to some degree is very, very helpful and, you know, can be helpful for others. Hope you've enjoyed part 3 of the Embracing Self-Love series. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe to the channel, and I am so excited to continue bringing you more content. I will talk to you all very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.